critics are painting a picture of new coach Mike McCarthy and a relationship with Ezekiel Elliott, and suggesting that Mike McCarthy is going to have no idea what to do here. Mike Fisher reporting from Frisco. Let's try to correct some of the misidentifications of what Mike McCarthy has done in the past and what it's going to mean to the Dallas Cowboys and Ezekiel Elliott in the near future. This is all a great example of what, for a long time, I've called making numbers dance the way you want them. You know, when you're the lead dancer and you have a partner, you know, if you're a boy and she's a girl, you lead her around, and that's the way it is. It's very sexist, but that is the way it is. That's what some people do with stats. They use the stat and they push it around and guide it around to make it do what they want it to do, and it's really not the best way of using statistics. We've got this now with Mike McCarthy and Ezekiel Elliott. The suggestion that McCarthy, hey, look at his history with running backs. You got to go all the way back to 2014 to find a 1,000-yard rusher in Green Bay. That was Eddie Lacy. I wonder if Jerry has talked to McCarthy about, hey, don't do that. We can't go years and years and years without a 1,000-yard rusher. We just paid a lot of money to Ezekiel Elliott. I would advise that, yes, they probably have had that conversation, and I would advise us to quit grabbing these numbers and making them dance. The truth about Eddie Lacy in 2014 and 1,000 yards is, first of all, McCarthy didn't coach in 2019. So if we're starting the clock going backwards to 2018, 2014 isn't really all that long ago. We're not talking about, you know, another era of football. Two, Eddie Lacy isn't Ezekiel Elliott, with all due respect to Eddie. And then we can argue whether or not the running back, and mostly Aaron Jones, that the Packers had after Eddie Lacy, when McCarthy was there, whether he's Ezekiel Elliott. I would argue that he's not. Others might think differently, which leads us to the third issue. If Aaron Rodgers is your quarterback, how much does that influence whether or not you have a 1,000-yard rusher on your team? So I have a feeling that when Mr. Jones and Mr. Jones asked Mike McCarthy over the course of 2 days of meetings, 2 days of interview, what are you going to do with Ezekiel Elliott? I have a feeling that Mike McCarthy said 2 words. 1, feed. 2, Zeke. There's logic in that, of course, and then there's something else. Let's look at some other numbers. Let's look at some real numbers that put in perspective what Mike McCarthy has done in terms of his body of work. Again, I think you have to factor in the possibility that Aaron Rodgers may have checked out of a couple of runs from 2015, 16, 17, and 18. He may have checked out of some runs, and by the way, it probably worked pretty well for him. The body of work, though, on Mike McCarthy, and part of that is the McCarthy Project, the TV show, basically, that he did about himself to demonstrate that maybe he's learned some new tricks, an old dog, and that after 13 years of head coaching experience, he's ready to be even better now. That would be the argument in case you really believe that he somehow doesn't know how to handle running backs. He's been coaching for 32 years, Mike McCarthy has. I have a feeling he has a clue. He's been in the NFL for 27 years. I have a feeling he has a clue. And I'm reluctant to put him in some box because we grabbed some stat from 2014. So I go to my man, John Owning, who does the Best Coast Boys podcast for us here. And yeah, you can argue that Aaron Jones may be underused. You can argue about Eddie Lacy being so long ago, or if you're going to look back, you might as well look back to 2001. The offensive coordinator for the New Orleans Saints in 2001 was named Mike McCarthy. They had a running back named Ricky Williams. You may be familiar with him. In 2001, Ricky Williams had 313 carries for 1,245 yards, 6 touchdowns, and 60 catches for 511 more yards and another touchdown. That is workhorse, bell cow, running back work by Ricky Williams under Mike McCarthy. 1,756 yards from scrimmage. 1,756. That's part of the Mike McCarthy body of work as well. So, history, logic, and then finance gives you the answer to what Mike McCarthy told Jerry Jones. He fed Ricky, he'll feed Zeke.